Rotary Bangalore Midtown Gen Next hosts Gift of Life, a fundraising to support 100 pediatric heart surgeries at Bangalore. More than 150,000 children in India are born with congenital heart diseases annually. Only around 5,000 manages to get treatment with some financial aid. Rotary Bangalore Midtown Gen Next, a dynamic young Rotary club in the city, was honored to host the impressive fundraising event on the 29th November 2023 in support of 100 pediatric heart surgeries. The evening was promising one with the engaging conversation between Dr. Shashi Tharoor, Member of Parliament, and Mr. Nikhil Kamath, co-founder ZERODHA, throwing light on the most relevant topic, India's potential of becoming a superpower.
Warm welcome to all of you. It is so humbling to see this packed hall. It gives me immense pleasure and honor to introduce one of the city's most dynamic clubs, Rotary Bangalore Midtown Gen Next, and also to talk about our special cause for today. Gen Nexters who have positively impacted and influenced our communities, our societies through well-deserving interventions focusing on 4 key areas of education, health, women empowerment, and environment. Since its inception in 2020, Gen Next has made a noteworthy difference to over 10,000 individuals through interventions spanning both rural and urban landscapes. Students both in school and higher education, creating awareness on menstrual health and hygiene, sapling drives, and the list goes on. These initiatives over the years have demonstrated our commitment to deep community development. Rotary generously in this space for more than 2 decades, the Needy Hearts Foundation. As Gen Nexters, our focus is to bring about deep transformative change in the communities we serve. This is only possible with divine blessings, collective efforts of each one of us, and the trust that is placed on us by all our donors and well-wishers. To help us in our endeavors, we look forward to engaging with each of you beyond this evening. We would now like to play a short and beautiful AV that showcases our current initiatives and gives a befitting introduction to the Needy Heart Foundation. Thank you and have a wonderful evening ahead.
See, heart surgery is one of the costliest surgeries in India, and leave aside after Modi has come, and we have the Ayushman Bharat and few schemes which started only in South, that was in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. These were Suvarna, the 3 or 4 schemes were there which started very recently. And heart surgery is #1 killer in the world. Everybody knows that, and it is more so in India. The rise of heart patients in the last 20-25 years has been phenomenal, has been tremendous. And when this was the situation that for a #1 killer disease in the world, how were the poor people in the more so? See, as far as the corporate world was concerned, there were social schemes, there were the insurance schemes, but before some of the social schemes which came very recently, there was no support given to. This was one of the factors which was responsible for many of the NGOs starting and helping the hospitals take up more and more patients. I personally, why I took up, I had a heart attack in '98, 25 years back, and at that time I was just going for my UN assignment. I didn't have I had left the corporate, I didn't have the insurance scheme of the company. I was managing director of a company previously. I had left that, and just before going to UN, I had that heart attack, and I felt the pinch that if I could have that pinch at my level after working for managing director of 3 multinationals for 16 years. I had plenty of money, but that pinch was there. You know, when you have to pay 4 lakhs, Dr. Devi Shetty did that surgery in Manipal hospital, he was there. And that 4 lakhs, that was the transformation for me. I decided that I'll do something when I have the opportunity. When I completed 3 years in my UN assignment, I met wonderful 3 doctors, Dr. Srivyas, Dr. I think you will be knowing them, Dr. Joseph Xavier and Dr. Devanand. And I was called for a talk to Manipal Hospital. After the talk, many doctors came, and we want to do something for the poor, but if we tell a patient that we want to do free surgery for you, he or she thinks that this fellow is going to take the kidney away. See, there is a love and hate relationship between the doctors and the patients. If they can't do without the doctors, but they think that if this is the situation, the doctors then urged me that you take up the Needy Heart Foundation as chairman and we will work for you. Right now, doctors, not only the names I mentioned, Dr. Srivyas was at that time heading, Dr. Subhash Chandra, Dr. Manjunath, Dr. Devi Shetty, Dr. Trihan, all of them are a part of Needy Heart Foundation.
We are from the Rotary Midtown Gen Next here at the Taj today. This is a fundraising gala dinner whereby we hope to support 100 pediatric heart surgeries through this event. In India, there are about 8,000 cases of pediatric heart surgeries where most of them go onto the waiting list. And we as an organization would like to explore the opportunities of ensuring that these kids get a second chance at life. After all, don't we all deserve a second chance at life? This is our way of saying that we are there and we will always be there to try our best as an organization to participate in such causes. We have roped in Dr. Shashi Tharoor, a 3-time member of parliament, and an institution in finance, the co-founder of ZERODHA, Mr. Nikhil Kamath. And I'm very grateful to them to be here today. Through their presence, we are able to raise a sum of 35 lakhs today, and it's the only way forward. The only way is forward from here, and I hope that someday we can reach the number that we target.
Needy Heart Foundation anta ide OP Khanna avaru okay avrige meet ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅದು ವೆಬ್ಸೈಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ Needy Heart Foundation. It's a very good foundation. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಇದು 100 ನಾವು ಜನ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂದ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋದು. Needy Heart Foundation ಇನ್ನ ತುಂಬಾ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಒಂದು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಏನಿದ್ರೆ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಖಾಲಿ ಕೈ ವಾಪಸ್ ಕಳಿಸಿಲ್ಲ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಇದೆ. ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಇಲ್ಲರಿ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ತುಂಬ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ.
ತಮ್ಮ ಹೆಸರು ಪರಿಚಯ?
ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಮತೀನ್ ಅಂತ. ನಾನು HBS ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲ್ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಕಂಜನೈಟಲ್ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಹುಟ್ಟಿದಾಗಲೇ ಇವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹಾರ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬೊಬ್ರಿಗೆ 4 ಚೇಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ 3 ಚೇಂಬರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಒಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ಅಯೋರ್ಟಾ ರೈಟ್.
Over the last 24 hours, I had a long flight and I stayed up watching a bunch of your interviews. The very first question I have for you is, how do you remember so much about so many different things? I heard you speak about Dr. Ambedkar, I heard you speak about the Constitution, there was something in there about socialism and how you grew up slightly right of center, your parents. I know you can remember your parents, but so many other things, how do you remember them?
I don't know, I guess it's a gift of some sort. I mean, I believe if you're interested in something, it will stick in your mind. I can tell you cricket scores from 60 years back, so, you know, that's also there. I mean, the fact is that it depends on what you're passionate about. I have a fairly wide range of interests. Nikhil and I've read widely. I don't claim to retain everything I've read all the time. And increasingly, one's reliance on on the internet to retrieve information is alarming because it makes you, you know, less reliant on your memory. I mean, how many of you remember the pre-internet era? How many phone numbers you can remember off the top of your head, right? And you've probably forgotten most of them now. I couldn't recite you my mother's phone number anymore because I just look her name up on the phone and dial it. And that is a problem. But despite that, I think I'm fairly okay on most of the issues I really care about.
How to pick what to read? This entire session is going to be a lot of me trying to learn different things from you. And by virtue of me, everybody else will learn a little bit too.
You're far too kind.
But how do you pick what to read? Is there a time to...
One reads for different purposes, Nikhil. So when I'm writing a book, I read very focused material that is relevant to the book I'm writing. So a book like my short biography of Dr. Ambedkar, it was essentially biographies of him by others, articles about him, including off the internet. There's some fascinating stuff I found on the internet. For example, this whole anecdote, of which there are 3 or 4 versions of Nikhil Kamath meeting Dr. Ambedkar, was off the internet. It wasn't in any of the books about him. I would, aside from delving deeply into his own writings and speeches and reading books about him, I don't think I found the time to do much else in terms of reading, except maybe digging into stuff for articles I was writing or speeches I was making. That was about it. The previous year I wrote a book called The Battle of Belonging, which was about nationalism. And that required a vast amount of reading, not always cover to cover. When you read for a purpose, you can read selectively. You can dip into a work on, say, nationalism's rise in Europe and just get the essence of the points they're trying to make. But I mean, that is focused reading. Then there's reading for pleasure, and that's something that I keep telling kids. I meet too many children these days who see books as only related to schoolwork and homework and classwork. And they don't think of books anymore as sources of pleasure. Pleasure comes to them from their phones, from their Nintendo, from their computers. And I think that's a great loss. It's a great shame for them. But I do try and remind myself that once in a while one should read, mainly because one enjoys the reading. Just a few months ago I finished Salman Rushdie's Victory City, which for people in Karnataka should have a lot of appeal. It's a reinvention in his own classic magical realism style of the tale of the Vijayanagar Empire, and it's absolutely fascinating. I think very well done. So you know that also is. I mean, I wouldn't prescribe. If people ask me what should I read, tell them read anything you like, anything you are fascinated by, anything you would like, anything you happen to pick up. If it's convenient for you to grab it, read it. I mean, I read indiscriminately growing up. And you could say, well, it was easier for you because you had no other distraction. There was no TV when I was growing up. There was no Nintendo or laptops or internets, and the mobile phones weren't even a gleam in an inventor's eyes. So yes, books were my escape, my education, my entertainment, everything. And that's not the case for you, Nikhil, or for people younger than you. And therefore, why a book? And my answer is because books offer a different kind of pleasure than any of these, and they take more out of you and put more into you than you. I mean, watching somebody else's imagination on a screen is a very passive form of either learning or entertainment. You're really seeing what somebody else has conceived. If you're reading a book, you have to imagine the character. You have to imagine the scene from the author's description. You can get your own idea of how you think the character would speak or sound or walk or look or dress. Whereas on a screen, unfortunately, it's all done for you already. And therefore, the only way you can imagine the character is the way the director and the actor and so on have conspired to present it to you. To my, I think it was partially because it had this, well, it attracted the best. So there's something self-perpetuating about it. That's less true today because the minority quota has gone up, and so there's fewer of the best getting in. But in those days, you really got the cream of the crop. I mean, everybody in college was a topper or close to it kind of thing. So you had outstanding intellects sparking off each other every day. It had somehow evolved a culture within the campus of being incredibly creative, very original. For example, before my time, St. Stephen's invented the entire concept of the College Winter Festival, which then became, now it's caught on every college, even every IIT has a winter festival of sorts in the country, but St. Stephen's came up with it first in the 1960s. It was just a place sort of bursting forth with talent, wit, humor, creativity, and you know, we had something like 55 student societies, each of which were dreamt up by students. And all we needed was the permission of the college and a faculty advisor. And then we were given the space and the resources to go ahead and do it. So it was an amazing, amazing place. And of course, I happened to be there at a time when we won every debate in the country. We had the best college theatre in the country, Shakespeare Society, and so on. We had people of great talent coming by. We had alumni we could boast of. I mean, the 75th anniversary, I think, was addressed by, how was it, 50th? Sorry, the 50th anniversary was addressed by the then President of India, who was an alum, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed. The 75th anniversary was addressed by the President of Pakistan, who was also an alum, Ziaul Haq. And I don't know who did the 100th anniversary, by then I was in the UN, but the 125th anniversary was addressed by me. So I can tell you that I feel a tremendous sense of commitment to the place and the connection to it. So all I'll say is that if you look back at your college years, for most of us, I'm sure, it was a formative period. I mean, because you really do sort of develop a lot of awareness of who you are and what matters to you in college. If it doesn't, then you've been goofing off too much, or perhaps, as was the case with some people in that era, they may have been too stoned to pay attention to their own process of growing up. That's another matter.
Lunch meal, mostly, with them. Satish bhai. Mr. Manandi. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I now request members.